Welcome to the first episode in a Legendarium series about the life and reign of King Edward III of England. In Part 1, Return of the Queen, we will talk about the early years of King Edward III, which were marred by a violent conflict between his father and mother for control of England. Edward III was born on November 13, 1312, the son of King Edward II of England and Queen Isabella of France. He was born in Windsor while his father traveled in Paris. Though the French urged King Edward II to name his son Louis or Philippe, King Edward II named his son after himself, very modest of him. Rare for English kings, Edward III never received the title Prince of Wales. Despite this omission, Edward would never lack for other titles. He was a member of the House Plantagenet, which ruled England since 1154 with the coronation of King Henry II. This dynasty ruled England for more than 300 years, until 1485, with the death of King Richard III at Bosworth Field. By the time Edward was born, things went badly for his father. Edward II's habit of heaping honors and wealth upon a few favorites in his royal court, including Piers Gaveston, rumored to be the king's secret lover, made him many enemies. Edward II's position became so dangerous that the birth of Edward III helped revive his popularity, since at least he had a male heir now. Word of the baby Edward's birth brought cheering crowds out into the streets of London. King Edward II even leaned into this newfound goodwill by making his son the Earl of Chester at the ripe old age of 12 days. After giving birth to Edward III, Queen Isabella took her infant son to France so she could travel with her husband. The royal couple returned to England in mid-July 1313. As the eldest son of the royal couple, Edward III attended Parliament as Earl of Chester in 1320 and became Duke of Aquitaine in 1325. The young Edward III grew up amidst struggles between his father and rebel barons who wished to limit the king's power and strengthen their own role in governing England. His mother, Isabella of France, was repelled by her husband's treatment of the nobles, especially by her husband's habit of confiscating her estates and imprisoning her servants to line the pockets of his newest boyfriends, a father and son duo both named Hugh Despenser, who used the king's favor to snatch land and titles from the nobles. Unfortunately for King Edward III, there was one recalcitrant nobleman he failed to control. Roger Mortimer of Chirk and his son, also named Roger Mortimer, had become involuntary guests at the Tower of London. They didn't much care for their new quarters, so on the night of August 1st, 1323, they had one of their servants slip a sleeping draught into the drinks of their guards. They unlocked the door, snuck through the castle kitchens, and shimmied down a rope ladder to a waiting rowboat which took them to France. After the Mortimer family escaped, King Edward's court buzzed with outlandish rumors of imminent invasions and plans for a coup. By 1325, King Edward II faced a grave crisis, having lost control of Scotland, which made those rumors of a coup seem all the more credible. At this point, the King of France, who also happened to be Edward II's brother-in-law, insisted that Edward II come to France to perform homage so he could keep control of wine-rich Gascony and nominal rule of Aquitaine, both of which were located in modern-day France. Edward's father saw this as a humiliation, but if he refused, he could start a war that he likely wouldn't win. In a rare act of ingenuity, Edward's father appointed his son the Duke of Aquitaine so that Edward III would travel to France to give homage in his place. The 12-year-old Edward traveled with his mother Isabella, who made a ceremonial entry into Paris wearing a black riding habit, checkered black boots, and a golden headdress. After negotiating for Gascony and Aquitaine, she enjoyed a joyous reunion with her brother, King Charles IV of France. Young Edward III paid homage to his in-law for his father's lands in France. Then Queen Isabella did something surprising. She refused to return home with her son. King Edward II raged and fumed, writing furious letters to his wife, ordering all the English bishops to do the same. In them, he accused his wife of wishing to destroy England just to spite him. Yet Isabella proceeded with her plans. In Paris, during Christmas 1325, Isabella met Roger Mortimer, and the two became lovers, bonding over their mutual hatred for King Edward II. Edward's mother created a royal scandal by appearing in public with Roger Mortimer as a couple. Mortimer even carried Duke Edward's robes at the coronation of the third queen to King Charles IV of France. King Edward II back in England used this display to pressure Pope John XXII to force King Charles IV to send the adulterous couple to the Low Countries. But that did not stop them either. To raise funds, Queen Isabella betrothed Edward III to Philippa, daughter of Count William of Holland. Edward III joined his mother on the voyage from the Low Countries to England on a fleet of 95 ships, enduring storms that scattered the fleet for 2 days. On September 24th, 1326, the fleet came within sight of shore and dropped off a small army that included men, horses, and supplies. The army included Dutch and German mercenaries alongside English exiles like Mortimer and Isabella. Knowing that most of the lords hated him, King Edward II fell into despair. Queen Isabella offered a reward to any Englishman who would help her destroy her husband. Londoners happily obliged, dragging the king's men into the streets and beheading them. One of Edward's bishops tried to escape while wearing full armor. When the citizens caught him, they pried off his armor and cut off his head with a bread knife. Desperate, King Edward II barricaded himself in Bristol Castle. When the siege appeared to be going against him, he tried to escape to the English coastal enclaves in eastern Ireland. Despite prayers from a Dominican friar, the wind kept his boat on the shore. Meanwhile, Edward's favorite Hugh Despenser fell into the hands of the rebels, who paraded him through the market square of Hereford, wearing a crown of nettles to mock his ambitions to be king and his family seal reversed on his tunic. Duke Edward and Queen Isabella watched as the executioners dragged both Despenser men through the streets and hung them upon a 50-foot scaffold. There they cut out their intestines and burned them on a wooden platform before their fading eyes. The enraged crowd whooped and cheered as the executioners cut off the legs, arms, and heads of the Queen's enemies. King Edward II, after 20 disastrous years, did not have long to reign or live. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.